Okay, a lot to dive into here, and for that, we're now joined by Scott Hamilton. Scott is the managing director at Leeham Company, an aviation industry consultancy. Scott, thanks so much for taking time to chat with us.
Happy to join you.
Let's talk a bit about this meeting, the families of victims meeting with the Department of Justice. It has to be a very emotional kind of sit down, a long list of problems with Boeing, and there's no easy way for either side to bring all of this up. What's the next step after this meeting? I presume that a lot of these families have already had a financial settlement of some kind with accidents happening in 2018 and 2019.
Most of them have. There were a few holdouts. What the next step is, of course, is entirely up to the Department of Justice, and there's no way to predict which way they're going to go.
There may be no way to predict which way they're going to go, but to be held criminally liable for this, what would that mean, and what would that do to the airline and its executives?
Well, any criminal prosecution of the Boeing company, it could be just limited to the company itself. There could be charges against certain executives. I just have no way of knowing what the DOJ is going to do, if anything at all. I will say that the deferred prosecution agreement that the families so objected to, that was entered into in January of 2021, in my view, let Boeing off lightly.
Okay. That'll be interesting to see how this goes, and, as you said, if it goes anywhere. Now, Fitch Ratings lowered Boeing's 2024 aircraft delivery forecast, and I guess that was no surprise. But what impact is this going to have on how investors see Boeing? Because we have seen its stock price tank.
Well, frankly, I'm surprised the stock has held up as well as it has. There is no good news whatsoever coming out of Boeing this year, and I really don't understand why the stock hasn't taken a deeper dive than it has.
Do you think perhaps, I mean, this company has always been the gold standard for the United States in terms of aircraft building. Do you think that clearly that would have something into play in it? Because, I mean, let's face it, these unfortunate, I guess it's safe to call it that, those mid-air accidents that simply tarnish the airplane maker's image. What is Boeing doing? Has it taken anything into account? How is it trying to move forward? How is it trying to win back the confidence of travelers as well as companies and nations who would be interested in purchasing these aircraft?
Well, what it's doing is of course, this report that was submitted to the Federal Aviation Administration yesterday, which outlines a number of steps that it's taken to improve safety, and it's outlined a number of steps that it intends to take to improve safety. But they did that after the 2018-19 MAX crashes that killed 346 people. And I still have yet to get any kind of an answer as why did those safety steps make a difference? Here we are 5 years later, and it's almost as if we're back to ground zero on that.
You know, you kind of read my mind. I was going to follow up and ask that very same thing. To what degree, someone who follows this industry, do you think that this is going to haunt Boeing, that it's going to make it very difficult for passengers to once again have confidence in this airline maker?
Yeah, there used to be a saying that if it's not Boeing, I'm not going. That's been recast as if it's Boeing, I'm not going. There's just really a polling has shown that there's really a large number of passengers who are hesitant to fly Boeing airplanes. For example, and it's unscientific to be sure, there's a poll that's been run on Twitter many times, and about 40% of those respondents say they don't want to fly the MAX, or they would have concerns flying the MAX.
I got to admit, when I fly, that's the first thing that I look at, and I guess it's just a symbol of the way that the times are right now. Which entity, which airline maker do you think, aircraft maker, is moving in to fill this void if Boeing certainly isn't going to be able to turn out the number of aircraft that it says it would like to?
Airbus, the chief rival, is obviously gaining market share, but Airbus only has limited ability to fill the gaps because it's sold out with the MAX competing airplane, the A320 family. It's sold out well into the 2030 decade. So an airline just can't simply go straight over to Airbus and say, yeah, I want to order your airplanes for delivery in this decade. They just don't have the capacity. In China, Comac, the domestic airplane producer, is going to start filling in some of that gap, But it is in its infancy, quite frankly, and I don't expect to see COMAC to be a serious contender for another 10, 15 years at least.